Good morning. Oh, you're so friendly. Yeah, with all the band stuff up here, it feels like nice and spacious now, like I should be running back and forth this whole time, but probably won't do that because that would be weird, but just thought I'd put that idea out there. So let's do a little thing. Who got a nice 8 hours of sleep last night? I'm questioning the validity of that, but I think I might have actually gotten 8 hours of sleep. I went to bed early, just kind of passed out. 6 hours. 6 hours of sleep. Who only got 4 hours of sleep? Only got 4 hours of sleep. Down to 3. Who only got to 3? 2 hours of sleep. 2 hours of sleep. All right, our 3 what time did you go to bed? 6 of you. You guys are crazy. Impressive. I am impressed at your abilities. But so, I had a little bit of an exciting morning. At 8:15, I was about to load up into the car with my wife to drive over here. And wife went into the kitchen to go grab, I guess, a glass of milk. Grabbed a cup. And then I'm in the other room loading my stuff into my backpack. And I just hear a cup. Ding, ding, ding. Followed immediately by, oh, no. And just these weird noises like, what? Well, that's such a dramatic noise for a cup. Like, wait, did she just break one of my favorite cups? Did she break one of her favorite cups? Because she seems awfully distraught over this cup. The blood! There's so much blood! Whoa, wait, what just happened in the kitchen? I'm trying to think through this. Like, did she drop the glass and it shot glass into her foot? Did she break the glass and then start doing like tap dancing? Like, oh no, that was a bad idea, my feet. Like, what happened over in the room 15 feet away from me that there's blood everywhere? She's like, ah. And I'm squeamish. Like, I don't do blood, real world blood at all. And I have passed out many times from all kinds of nosebleeds, all kinds of embarrassing stories from my youth ministry days. Someone being like, Sean, I need your help. Let me help. And I pass out because they have a little nosebleed. So my wife's in the kitchen. She knows I'm going to be on stage in an hour and a half, however long it's been. She's like, don't come in the kitchen. There's so much blood, but I do think I'm about to pass out. Like, what? Well, don't stand in the kitchen. Make your way over here to the couch. Like, I don't want the blood to go everywhere. Just grab a towel. So she wraps her hand, like slowly makes her way to the couch. And it was her hand. So I'm even more curious, like, what's this? Did you drop it? And then let me pick that up. Ah! Like, what was it? I don't understand how this happened. So apparently what it was she dropped the glass. It falls, it hits the ground, and she had been like, well, let me try and catch it. Then she backed off. She's like, oh, it's going to crack. Hits the ground, bounces back up, and she goes, oh, now I can catch it. So she goes in fast to catch it. It hits the ground a second time as she's going like this, explodes into her hand. And so the Chandler family household was very exciting this morning. So I haven't gotten an update since she dropped me off here. Her aunt is a nurse and lives right down the street, across the street from Sun City. So she's over there right now finding out if she needs stitches. But so fun times. Nice way to wake yourself up before doing something kind of stressful like public speaking. So we're going to be looking at this idea. Our final topic of the weekend is how do we renew our souls? Talked about the heart, and that's the starting point for all of this. The mind, how it's so important that we feed our mind healthy things. Last night we talked about where our strength comes from, how our strength to live today and tomorrow is the same strength that conquered the grave. It's the same strength that saved us when we first put our faith in Christ. And today we're talking about what feeds our soul. Because every single one of us have these longings inside of us for more, to be satisfied, and we keep turning to different things to try and quench that thirst in our soul for more. We have these things that we normally use this word I'm about to bring up in the context of food, but really we have a bunch of these different things, and they're called appetites. So obviously, appetite for food. Most of you probably eat on a daily basis. I would recommend it probably a few times per day. But we don't just have appetites for food, we have appetites for a bunch of other different things as well that we keep going to try and satisfy. So we just got a big list up here. Sleep. Some of you guys are going to go home and you're going to be out. You're going to sleep for like 14 hours straight. Progress. This idea that we always want a little bit more, like when you're playing that video game on your phone that's repetitive and stupid, but for whatever reason, you want to keep getting to the next level. So you just keep playing this mobile game. Progress, grades, acceptance, winning, fame, recognition, respect, love, compliments, popularity, sex, stuff, to be envied, to be attractive, to likes on social media, followers, subscribers. We just have this desire inside of us that we always want more, and we kind of think if I get just a little bit more, then I'll be happy and I'll be satisfied. So we're trying to resolve this tension in our soul by putting more of this stuff in there. Some of it's kind of stupid. Anyone still doing the Fortnite thing? A couple hands shot straight up, 2 hands straight up instantly. And there's this desire, you keep competing to get that number 1. And maybe you're like feeling like you got the streak and you're close, but you keep only getting to like number 4. Your mom's like, you got to stop playing. You're like, but Mom, I'm so close to number 1. Maybe some of you are like, Fortnite is the stupidest game ever. So of course that's not me. But maybe you're real active on social media. And so you post that picture and then you're like, did I get any likes? You're like tracking it. Just desperate because every time you get that little click, you just a little bit of your soul. It's like, oh, that was cool. Someone actually liked it. Maybe it is grades. We've talked about grades a whole bunch this weekend. Grades are a good thing, but if it's just like this thing that you're looking to satisfy your soul, if it's one of your appetites, that can be kind of a bad thing. For me, I got one. It's actually kind of embarrassing. It goes back to the social media thing. So I kind of mentioned this the first night, but yesterday was 1 year since I went full-time doing the YouTube thing. And whenever I went to do the full-time YouTube thing, I was like, all right, I should probably try and do this social media stuff right. And so I got an Instagram account for my YouTube channel. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do this proper. Follow all the right tactics. And what this turned into was me as a man that's almost 40 years old taking a hilariously large number of selfies. Because I'm just trying to document my life and there's a bunch of people interested in whatever I do. So it's like, Christmas dinner, take a picture of it, post it on the internet. You have to put this in context. There's a lot of middle schoolers in the room. I'm probably older than some of your dads, so just imagine how weird that would be if that kind of played out where your dad's just documenting his life, taking pictures of himself. Last Easter, we did family pictures, and we went out to a nice location with a photographer, little flowers everywhere, the blue bonnets were coming out, and I thought to myself, this is a great place to take a selfie. So I start taking a picture of myself while someone has been paid to take a picture of me. And so they take a picture of me while I'm taking a picture of myself. That's insane. It's crazy. But it's kind of part of that little game that I'm playing with the YouTube thing. But it turns into like I'm paying attention, like, oh no, this one only got 600 likes. Oh no, this one only got 300. Oh, this got 1,000. Oh, God. Whew, I feel better about myself today because this one did well. Just playing this whole appetite game of trying to be satisfied with the number of likes. Actually, come to think of it, I haven't taken a selfie with you guys yet. You guys want to fly over here real quick while I take a picture? Just jump over real quick. And crazy wild. I can get a picture with you too. Smaller side of the room, only 4 people. Oh, there we go. Thank you for much. Feeding my appetites. I greatly appreciate it. Feeding my unhealthy addiction. So, I'll see what I can do. So why do I say all this? Because we all have these things that we do to try and quench that thirst in our soul for more. And some of it's silly. I mean, it's just kind of goofy. If Instagram ended for me tomorrow, I'll be okay. But some of these things can be really, really destructive in the way they play out in our lives. And so that's where we have to be really careful in paying attention to how some of this stuff plays out, because it is powerful, powerful stuff. In fact, the entire marketing world is built around trying to figure out what your inner desires are and present their product as the solution to your soul. So for the last 20 years, they've been selling these products like Axe body spray and all these different things that are like basically perfume marketed to teenage boys. Now, what they don't do is they say, hey, you'll smell like potpourri. You'll smell like a lady. They don't list the ingredients. What they do is they make an ad where this guy covers himself in this stuff, a crazy amount of it, shows up at school, and everyone's like, hey, man, you're so cool. And suddenly he's accepted. And you're like, what? That is literally never happened in human history. But they market it as this idea of this is how you get accepted. And then he walks into the next room and he's just swarmed by a bunch of girls because he wants to be accepted. That's the soul, what's going on in the teenagers, be accepted. You want girls. And so they market this can of lady-scented body spray to teenage boys as the solution to their inner problems. Or there was one that I saw, this commercial a while back, and it's this guy, like dirty clothes, just real rugged, strong-looking guy, and he's climbing this metal cage. And he gets to the top of the metal cage, and there's a sword in a stone. He walks up, he grabs the sword out of the stone. Did anybody watch The Mandalorian? Yes. The last episode, there's a dark saber appears. This guy pulls a dark saber out of the stone. As he pulls the dark saber out of the stone, laser bridge shoots out of the platform that he's on. A dragon emerges. And he goes back into a fighting stance with his dark saber to battle the dragon. The dragon blows flames from its mouth. He swings the sword in front of him to block the fire. As the fire clears from around him, he's in a Marine uniform. It says, the few, the proud, the Marines. Actual commercial. You can look this up on YouTube. It's still out there. And I've known people that have joined the Marines. Not one of them has been like, it's the coolest thing ever. We did dark saber training. And then a dragon showed up. I mean, it was only a mechanical dragon, but it happened. Then they deployed me, and I actually found Excalibur, and they had me cut the head off of a dragon. Never happened because dragons aren't real. I hope you already knew that. I hope also Santa Claus isn't real, just in case anyone is a little bit naive in the room. Sorry. Spoiler alert. Hate to ruin your childhood. Why do I say all this? The way that they market the Marines is trying to appeal to this desire inside of us for significance. And so they go to this ridiculous fantasy version of significance where you're literally King Arthur battling dragons. And there's something about that actually kind of works. And people give up years of their life in pursuit of significance. So that's how they market it, because these appetite things are powerful. And they drive so much of our action because they go back to what our soul is longing for to find satisfaction. And some of you, if you look at kind of even your family situation, or if you think about your own biggest regret, the stupidest thing that you've ever done, it probably goes back to some appetite that you were trying to quench. Even my son, he's about to turn 8. He has the simple appetites to play video games and eat candy. And he's perpetually in trouble for both of these things. Because he wakes up early, grabs candy, goes upstairs and tries to secretly play video games before he goes to school, even though he's not allowed to do that. And he thinks he gets away with it every time. We're like, dude, there's a pile of candy bar wrappers. There's no mystery. I don't know how those got there. Yeah, you do. This is your hiding spot where you sit in the corner with the Switch and eat Snickers. So when you're 7, it's kind of cute. But some of you, the biggest pain in your life probably comes from a parent who had appetites that they could never get control of. And their pursuit of quenching the thirst in their soul for more, pursuit of one of these appetites, it caused serious damage to you. It tore your family apart, or something maybe even worse than that. He said a lot of you might have no clue what I'm talking about, and some of you, that hits so close to home. We're going to be in John chapter 4. Look at a story of a woman who had her own desires that she was pursuing, and Jesus kind of plays in the story. It says this, and he left Judea and departed for Galilee. He being Jesus is departing, and he had to pass through Samaria. Real kind of sidebar on this one. I don't have the word. I don't have, if you want to turn real quick, it's John chapter 4. It says he had to pass through Samaria. Right off the bat, that's technically speaking, he did not have to do that. There were other ways for Jesus to travel from Judea to Galilee without going through Samaria. So when it says he had to, it's most likely implying and talking about the fact that Jesus had someone he knew he needed to talk to. So he came to the town of Samaria called Sychar, near the field that Jacob had given to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there, so Jesus, wearied as he was from his journey, was sitting beside the well. So Jesus is traveling through a desert, and he's wearied, so he goes to the well to get something to drink, and says this: it was about the 6th hour. Right off the bat, anytime the Bible tells you what time it was, probably need to pay attention. That's an important detail. And a woman from Samaria came to draw water. Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink," for his disciples had gone away into the city to buy food. But the Samaritan woman said to him, we'll leave a little bit of a cliffhanger right there. So 3 important things pop out from this passage. First off, it's the 6th hour. And if it tells you the time, they didn't have watches. They were not like documenting things normally. So if they noted the time, there's something important about it. And in this case, this wasn't the time of day when people would normally go to the well, which means this woman is probably an outcast. She wants to go to the well when no one else is at the well. Second thing, she is a woman. That's why it says she's a woman. But in their culture, the idea of single man walking up to single woman, that's not how they did things. It's not like today's culture where that's like, yeah, that's what people do all the time. The idea of Jesus walking up to her and be like, "Hey, can I have a glass of water?" Shady at this time. Third one, she's a Samaritan. And without being able to give you all the history on this, their 2 cultures did not get along. They were not buddies. This is why when it says that Jesus had to pass through Samaria, where Samaritans are from, that's not technically true. There's other ways that he could have done it. There's other ways that maybe typically he would have. So the idea that Jesus is walking up to someone that's probably an outcast, that's a woman, she's a Samaritan, there's a whole bunch of things about this that are weird and different from normal. And it continues on. The Samaritan woman said to him, "How is it that you, a Jew, ask for a drink from me, a woman of Samaria? For Jews have no dealings with Samaritans." Once again, even in the Bible, it says, like, they don't talk to each other. This is weird. And she knew that. Jesus answered her, "If you knew the gift of God and who it is that is saying to you, 'Give me a drink,' you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." Jesus said to her in verse 13, jumping ahead a couple verses, "Everyone who drinks of this water will be thirsty again," pointing at the well. "But whoever drinks of the water that I give you will never be thirsty again. The water that I give will become from a spring of water welling up in the eternal life." Verse 15, "And the woman said to him, 'Sir, give me this water so that I will not be thirsty or have to come to draw water again.'" So she's taking him literally. He's speaking metaphorically about how do you resolve this desire within the soul for more. And she's like, "Yeah, I'm thirsty. Can I have some? That'd be cool to have magic water that makes it so you don't have to drink water ever again." Jesus says to her, "Go call your husband to come here." So Jesus gets a little bit, he starts getting a little bit prickly with her. Verse 17, the woman said to him, "I have no husband." So Jesus says to her, "You are right in saying, 'I have no husband,' for you have 5 husbands, and the one that you have now is not your husband. What you have said is true." All right, so what's going on in this passage is basically you have a woman who is very immoral. And she's been going from man to man to man. And in this culture, that was not accepted. So she was the outcast of society that nobody wanted to spend time with. That's why she's at the well at this time when nobody else is at the well. And so she's there, and Jesus comes up to her, which is weird. And he's saying, whatever you're looking for in all these relationships to like satisfy your soul, I've got something better. She's not quite getting what he's saying. So he tries to tie it back to her. He's like, tries to like point it directly at her. Like that thing in your life where you're the outcast, that thing why you're here now because you got all these guys you keep going to, it doesn't work. It doesn't satisfy. For a long time, I had this, whenever I saw this passage, I thought to myself, that's weird. Like who's this person that keeps going to bad relationship, to bad relationship, to bad relationship, expecting different results? Isn't that one of the definitions of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and again, expecting different results? And then I thought, oh, well, I've done that, just not in this area. But I've had my own stupid things where for some reason I thought, this time it'll be different. This time it will satisfy. And I kept going back again and again to something. So I got some principles on appetites. We'll have these slides up there if you want to write some notes down. Appetites are never fully and finally satisfied. We think this will satisfy my soul, but it doesn't. Same thing as Thanksgiving dinner. You show up, huge meal, chow down on everything, potatoes, turkey, ham, whatever you guys have, whatever's your stuff. You eat all of it. You loosen the pants. You're like, I'm never going to eat again. Pass out on the couch, wake up 2 hours later, load your plate up again, and we're going for it again. Because it doesn't work like that. There's no meal that you could eat when it was so big that you'd never eat again. Appetites are never fully and finally satisfied. And that's true of whatever else thing that you're looking for. If you're obsessed with Fortnite and you get number one, then you want to get number one again. It's not like, I did it, I guess I'm done with this game. No, it makes you go, I want to keep winning. You get a bunch of likes on something. You don't go, well, I'm satisfied now. I'm good. Don't need to post anything else. Whenever I started my YouTube channel, I thought, man, if I ever got to 10,000 subscribers, that would be incredible. Like, why would I want any more after that? Then I had 10,000. I was like, man, I can't wait till I get to 20,000. And there's not a number where you're satisfied. Whatever you think will be the thing where if you get there, you'll be happy. It does not work. And we all know this. Just play out all the things in your life where you've thought, once I get this, I'll be happy. It doesn't work. Next one, appetites drive you to do more. One of my former students, from when I was a youth pastor, he's playing Clash of Clans, I believe it was, on his phone. One of these games with the in-app purchases. And he was so close to leveling up that he thought, hey, if I just spend a little bit of money, I can win this battle. So he spends a little bit of money, wins the battle. He goes, well, I'm so close to leveling up again. And I can beat their clan, which lead to 2 levels up. So he spent a little bit more money. And suddenly this silly app that's free, he spends $400 on it in a month. And you hear that and you go, that's crazy. You're right, it is crazy. But we've all had these things where we've done the same thing. We're like, I'm so close. I just a little bit more. Just one more time. Just one more opportunity. And whether it's Clash of the Clans, okay, that was a little bit sillier than most. But like, whatever it is, those apps are designed that way, that they know people do that. Their entire business model is to have a silly little game that just feeds this desire for more, that we just want to keep going, get one more, add a little bit more into the mix, and it never satisfies. Maybe you have a friend that just keeps having loser boyfriend after loser boyfriend after loser boyfriend. Everyone else can see it and be like, what are you doing? Why do you keep doing this? She keeps going to this well that does not satisfy. Then next one, appetites eventually cost you more. So it's funny when it's a app and then his dad yelled at him. That's pretty funny, especially knowing his parents. It's really funny that this guy spent that money in Clash of Clans. But these start to mature, our appetites. And when we go to the wrong well, it starts to destroy lives. About 10 years ago was the first time, 15 years ago was the first time I heard a story about a teacher getting fired. Actually, I guess it was when I was student teaching in college, so about 13 years ago, something like that. First time I remember hearing a picture about a teenager taking a picture of, themselves and sending it to someone else. Then they were naked. Sexting. Remember the first time hearing about that, I was like, this is the craziest thing I've ever heard. Who would do that? Where do you think that's going? So this student that was one of my students while I was student teaching got kicked out of the school. And then a couple years later, I'm youth pastor, and it became just like this very regular part of teenage culture, like way more normal than I could ever fathom. And then that started this next phase of things that just kept blowing my mind, that it's not just teenagers, and I can understand teenagers, your brain's still cooking in your skull, you don't fully think this stuff out. It became a regular thing of stories of teachers sending naked pictures of themselves to students. It started becoming this regular thing of every couple months, you'd have a national story about a teacher, a 40-year-old, so desperate for attention from someone, so desperate to build a connection that they would send a picture of themselves to a student, which is a really bad thing to do. And just even trying to play that one out. How many choices along the way to get to the moment where you click send on that? It's not like an impulsive thing or an oopsie thing. A long series of things has to happen, starting with you exchanging numbers with someone underage and all sorts of stuff that leads to that moment. How does that happen that someone is in that place? Because they have an appetite for more. And it's not satisfied, and they keep going further and further and further down a path. I've alluded to a number of things about my father, or touched on a little bit, but so much of my childhood was just damaged by him having appetites that were just never satisfied. He cheated on my mother because of his sexual appetites. He was an alcoholic that never got control of it, eventually drank himself to death. It all started when he was a teenager at some point in time, at a party, something like that, something innocent enough, I guess you could say, if there's anything innocent about that, that led to him needing more and more and more, and it cost him his family, alienated his kids, and eventually cost him his life. And it's not like he was this wild, crazy guy that was not functional. He's a very successful businessman, retired when he was 45 years old, but he had these appetites that he never got a hold of. And it destroyed his life. I got a little quote up here. Appetites are never fully and finally satisfied. Appetites drive you to do more than you want to do, take you places you don't want to stay, and cost you more than you want to pay. When we try and quench the thirst of our soul with the stuff in this world, it does not satisfy. It does not work. Or to put it as a little illustration, you're thirsty. You did service projects yesterday out in the sun. Let's say you're outside, hours, sunburnt, come in. How many cups of dirt would you have to drink to take away the thirst? I mean, it's not water, so you probably need more. So 10 cups? 10 cups of dirt, would that take away the thirst? Would that cool you down? Would that be refreshing? Or would you want one of these? Or a bottle of water, whatever your thing is. I'll give you 1,000 cups of sand or dirt, or one of these. Which one do you choose in that moment? 7-Up. Wise choice. Dirt, not recommended, but I guess if you were like, I'll sell all this dirt and make money. I'm going to buy a whole 12-pack, like businessman over there. But no amount of sand or dirt can take away your thirst. It's not designed to do that. It doesn't matter how much sand you drink. You'll still be thirsty, and eventually you'll be pretty dead. Actually, pretty quickly you'll be dead. It might be a fun little camp game for next year. See how many cups of sand you can get someone to drink. But you can't drink sand to take away the thirst of when you're out in the sun. And in the same way, you can't satisfy the thirst of your soul. You can't satisfy the appetites of your soul by turning to anything except God. One more quote up here. You cannot satisfy a desire which God intended for himself with anything but God. The only thing that can satisfy the human soul is God himself. It's a quote from C.S. Lewis, very famous quote. He said this: "If we consider the unblushing promises and rewards and staggering nature of the rewards promised in the Gospels, it would seem that our Lord finds our desires not too strong, but too weak. We are half-hearted creatures fooling around as an ignorant child who wants to go out making mud pies in the slum because he cannot imagine what is meant by the offering of a holiday at the sea. We are far too easily pleased." And it's easy to see when you look at someone spending $400 for Clash of Clans. It's tough to see it in the mirror and the own ways that each and every one of us turn. And we trade all that God offers for a cup of dirt. And we do it every single day. The passage closes out with this. It says in verse 23, "Yet a time is coming now when the true worshiper will worship the Father in the Spirit and truth, and the kind worshipers the Father seeks, because God is Spirit, and the worshipers must worship in the Spirit and in truth." And the woman said, "I know that Messiah called Christ is coming. When he comes, he will explain everything to us." And Jesus declared, I am the one speaking to you. I am He. So we want to close out this weekend on this simple idea. If you want your soul satisfied on a daily basis, you need to drink the living water and turn to Christ. We perpetually turn to all these other things thinking they will satisfy, and it never does. You can look at your own life. It has not worked yet. Just some simple questions for you right off the bat. What do you need to cut out of your life? Like, you probably know something after this weekend, all the conversations, something that you go, I need to cut this out. If you know it, write it down. If you're embarrassed about what it says and you don't want the person next to you to read what you're about to write it in code. But make a mark. What do you need to cut out of your life? Second one, what stirs your affections for God? What stirs your affections for God? What I mean by that is, like, obviously you should read the Bible. We'll get to that in just a second. But, like, do you feel closer to God when you're, like, out in nature? I've heard people say, like, just the smell of coffee. Just the smell of coffee is, like, something to me that, like, connects me with God. Maybe it's reading theology. Maybe you're, like, an intellectual person. Like, what is it for you personally that's not, you're not going to find it in the Bible, like, John chapter 7, and then smell coffee and walk out in the woods. Like, it's not in there. But what is it for you personally? Like, for me, for one of them, for me, like, epic music. Like, big trailer music, that stuff for me just pumps me up in a way that makes me think about the bigger, grander things of God. Third, what do you need to do to carve out time to daily spend time in the Word and prayer? I remember when I was in youth group growing up, I frequently have people come up on stage and they'd be like, you need to wake up at 5 a.m. and open the Word for an hour. And if you can spend an hour in the Word, it'll transform your life. Granted, that's technically true, but the amount of times I, as a teenager, was able to wake up at 5 in the morning and read the Bible for an hour without falling asleep instantly was 0 times. Like, that's a perfect ideal of what would be an amazing thing to do. But what can you, where you're at right now, what can you do? What I always propose to my students, and it's crass, and I don't mean to be crass, but the potty plan. You're definitely in the bathroom every day, put a Bible there and redeem that time. And it sounds crass, but it's time where you're just there. And maybe you're on your phone texting a friend. That's way weirder and creepier. Why not use that, like, literally pull out your Bible. If you're driving, use an audio Bible. Listen to sermons. Just find something where you're daily in the Word. We'll close out on this note. Each one, I got 3 questions up there. They're already up there. What do you need to do? What do you need to do? What do you need to do? You probably have something after this weekend that you know you need to do. When do you need to do it? Like, you got something you think you need to confess to your parents? Something you need to tell someone about? Do it tonight, like by 6 p.m. tonight. Like, write a time down. You need to unplug something, disconnect some internet, write a time down for it. And then lastly, who's going to hold you accountable? Before you leave this room, have someone be like, hey, I need you to text me tomorrow morning. I need you to text me at 6 tonight to make sure I've done it. Actually, 5:50. Text me to say, do it now, man. Do it. Who's going to hold you accountable? Because you need to have a plan for how you're going to feed your soul and turn and drink the living water. Let's pray.